The dwarves of Kairos have sent a heavily laden convoy to Settra's court in Khemri. The High King of all the Dawi has sent his seal and pledges service to the Great King of the Desert. The ever-watchful men of the mountain have been keeping careful tabs on Khemri for some time now. They have watched our legions lay waste to countless lesser kingdoms, in both offensive drives to expand the kingdom, and defensive wars where the armies of the Old Ones and haughty elves were crushed underfoot for their treachery. They watched Skarbrand's murderous hordes be cut down like ripe wheat, and witnessed the rivers of blood flowing after the breaking of Wurzag's many attempts at invasion. The Dawi see Settra's unstoppable will, and instead of being swept aside as all others, they wish to join their might with our own. Already crates of oath gold are being loaded onto caravans and sent to Kasabar and the other industrial cities, to meld into new adornments for our many constructs of war. And a small outpost was being built in Kairos to both assist in defense and handle the conscription of Dawi forces to the war fronts of Khemri. Gold was flowing freely in the lands of the dead, due to Settra's heavy investment into repairing the infrastructure of long-lost Nehekara. Trade caravans were constantly leaving heavily laden with goods and resources, and returning with sacks brimming with coinage from lands abroad. Settra, of course, was due 70% share of all profits, and every last ounce of gold would be put towards the unending task of rebuilding, maintaining, and continuing to improve upon the vast empire that was Khemri. Amenemhotep was given the order to secure the 6th Book of Nagash, currently residing somewhere within the fetid squalor that was Skaven Blight. His corsairs would stain the Tolian Sea forever crimson with the blood of the vermin, in pursuit of Settra's goal. Settra and the Vizier Qatar were busy chasing the armies of the ruinous powers that had thus far been rampaging just out of reach of the vengeful Nehekarans. Vengeance would be swift and brutal. Queen Rasut was quickly carving her way across Lahmia, adding Granite Massif and Marak to her list of conquests. Now King Berekt stands in her path, known for his prized tomb scorpions and artillery barrages. Rasut would use all of Bast's grace to overwhelm and destroy this new challenger before he even knew what had happened. Another group of usurpers moves to defeat us. Let's see how well they fare. This is at least an army with a fair bit of constructs rolling it through. We have already gone ahead and subled Hubaltufani. I'm probably going to pronounce that name wrong every single time. We've got Rasut rolling with the giant flying beetles as well as all of our small cats. The big cats are off on the side with the infantry and our tomb prince here. They're going to be used to destroy their chariots before moving in to help out with all of the different tomb scorpions. There are 3 of those. They've got some bolt throwers and the screaming skull catapults. We've also got all sorts of funky lag going on there. I do apologize. We've had all sorts of instabilities with this episode and the SFO Grimhammer one. So that is been something we've been dealing with in the back end there. But episode's coming along. Our suit's charging on in. I actually cannot wait until we get her off of this this chariot. People who are not meant to be on chariots, who don't have all the extra Tomb King's buffs, it does not feel quite proper. Well, let's get a right nice slow-mo charge in here. All of the constructs smashing on in. Tomb Kings do not have the best infantry, and she is mostly, or this Tomb King rather, is mostly rolling with just a group of normie skeleton warriors. It's time for them to get crushed. Necro Serpent's moving on in as well. No matter if they have spearmen or not, we just have way more mass weapon strength. We vastly outclass these poor skeleton warriors, no matter if they have any anti-infantry or anti-large or not. Ratah has beelining for a scorpion there, giving a chop to its tail. You hit it hard enough, you might be able to cut it off and use it as a weapon. Our 3 big cats ripping through the chariots, doing a very good job of tearing them down. And as Rasut gets stronger, they are only going to get even more potent. Scorpion's gonna roll around and try all sorts of nonsense, but we shall be unaffected. Let's move on in here a little bit here because I charged the Khemrian War Sphinx using all of its mass right into the catapults to shut them down. Also used our gigantic beetles to do the same with the bolt throwers, which actually are a very good unit, or a very good looking unit rather. It's just in my experience, the bolt thrower style artillery pieces just do not perform very well. And we kind of see that there. They did not, we'll see exactly how many kills they get at the end, but shut down pretty quick. Rashut will finish that thing off. We don't want to deal with any artillery. Realized the Scorpion was causing problems in the center, so we sent the Necroscorpions, or the Necroserpents in to deal with that. Necropolis Knights, these are not the Halberd variant, but they are going to still have a good deal of armor piercing and still rip through that tough hide of the Scorpions. Shabti and Mummies working together. Kurtaw's taking almost no damage here facing off against the Scorpion. The cats can go ahead and lend their aid as well. We did get the cats stuck in with a summon of the Ushabti. Hopefully we can drag them on away, but these Ushabti are very good at blocking units from escaping. Leadership is starting to waver across the board for our enemy, though. The Doom Prince has actually stayed, or the Doom King has actually stayed away from any major damage to himself, even though he's been in the thick of things for the most of it. He's performing quite well for Lybaras. Another pop of the Realm of Souls goes off, and they're going to try to fire some arrows through. That is honestly quite horrifying. Battle Cats dispersing so as to not get shot up by spectral arrows. Vomiting acid all over the shields, and we should rip through these poor spearmen pretty quickly. And got launched about 50 feet in the air. Why you don't face off against a giant stone kitty cat the size of a building. Another one. Maybe it's the Necroserpents that are sending people flying. The armies crumble away. This Usurper King and his throne shall soon be destroyed. First marvelous victory. And King Berekt was absolutely eviscerated. We only ended up losing 9. We almost lost one of the Bastet because it got caught in there with one of the Ushabti summons, but all in all, we managed to get out of there with almost no damage, so we will go ahead and actually, tough call between Endless March and Harvesting to the Organs just to add to our Canopic Jar storage. We are going to go for Endless March, not for the gold, but for the extra movement range for 2 turns. Then she's also going to gain the Claws of Bast. You and Nehekara would doubt that the priestesses of Bast were well protected. For while Bast is the goddess of love, she is also the goddess of cats, and her clergy are well able to hunt, stalk, and kill their prey. These twin daggers were once the most sacred objects of Khemri's Temple of Bast. Imbued by the mortuary cult, the wielder takes on the aspects of Bast in her guise as a predator. Snatched up by Rashut as she ran down the temple steps to find the murderers of her king, doing their butcher's work. The daggers were put to good use in quickly executing her beloved's killers. Through these daggers, the power of Bast flowed to give Rashut the power and grace to take the royal court and quickly throw back her many enemies. She's going to have 10% more speed, 40 more armor-piercing damage, and the ability Claws of Bast, which will give her even more speed, weapon damage, and a bit of ninja capabilities as well. Quite incredible. We are going to now take the fight all the way to Lahmia, where we will claim ourselves the 8th Book of Nagash. First, let's give her some skills. When do we unlock with the Lioness of Bast here? That is going to upgrade cooldown reduction, Winds of Magic, Power Reserve, and then drop how much it costs for these 2 spells. Sounds good to me. And then we can go ahead and start saving until we hit rank 14, and we can gain a couple of these all at once here, since these skills are going to be pretty incredible. And then we would have 4 to spend all at once. The skills to pass out as well, we can give a Krata here a bit more combat potential. He's already got his way over to Desert Strike. I think we'll give him a bit more health, and then we'll move back over to finishing off Hard to Hit. But now onward to Lahmia. Oh, I always mistake the dimmer circle for places we can go. Well, next turn will be onward to Lahmia. With spoils from that battle, we'll come over here and upgrade Archon starting settlement to a necropolis, spending a good majority of our gold, but I think money well spent. For our next battle, we've moved just up the mountain path a ways here to Dringo Rakas, where the Court of Lybaras once again stands against us. We have crushed so many skeleton soldiers at this point that we are not going to go ahead and take this one to the map. I will give this one to auto-resolve. We will slaughter them wholesale. We'll lose 196. And we will claim Dringo Rakas for Khemri. Perfect. While he is here, I think our global recruitment has been maxed out. And we have no more of the cavalry to recruit here. In that case, we wait. No reason to fill his unit slots up with people we do not want. Only issue with this, with Kairos the Irritating, being that the second book of Nagash is here at Karak 8 Peaks. Post in the comments, is this something we are able to handle peacefully with them, or will we have to declare war and claim Karak 8 Peaks for our own to grab this book? The Great Orthodoxy has lost too much land. The people have suffered and seen too many of their own slaughtered by the marauding forces of chaos. Kastalton has been forced to bend the knee to the Ice Court, joining Kislev as one nation in the face of invasion from many fronts. Hadarin must continue to keep a close eye on him, however. As a snake sheds its skin, so too does Kastalton adapt to new situations. He will no doubt be plotting how best to take control back from the young queen. The Great King's vengeance would be like a crashing meteor on these foul beasts. They dare pillage his towns and slaughter his subjects. Settra steps down from his chariot, and his royal war sphinx is brought before him. Sunlight gleaming off its many gold adornments, and blue energy pulsing through the muscle and sinew of stone. These barbaric monsters fight with fury and rage. He would show them how pitiful their might and that of their dark gods truly was. We have moved in on the accursed holds of Kugu here in the Slaughterhorn tribe. Time to purge this place with Tra's holy light and bring it back into Khemri's glorious borders to battle. The hideous braying of these disgusting beasts is going to be a cacophony we can't handle, so let's get to purging this nonsense. We've got all of our infantry back there with Settra. There's a huge vanguard deployment zone for this map, so we have everyone up as far as they can to disrupt and just get as much damage on these goats before they get too close. They send the Warhounds forward, they can get ridden down by chariots. They send the Minotaurs forward, we can kind of do the same thing, just keep firing those arrows in and retreating. Got some lovely golden pauldrons, though. You're going to move the royal chariots up. They're going to have no trouble beating down on pretty much anything these beastmen are fielding. If you have armor or not, the royal chariot guard will slaughter thee. The rest of the army is moving up as quickly as we can. We have Settra on the War Sphinx to keep him a bit more maneuverable when fighting against beasts, and allowing him to pack a bit more punch. Cygor Rock just flew right by the camera there. And here come monsters. I don't even know what hit that guy. It was the force. Probably one of the chariot arrows dropped him. Setra's wading into the Minotaurs. They are not going to like fighting him at all. Flattening a few, pulverizing any gore that are unfortunate enough to get hit. Rain of Souls comes down as well. These Warhounds think this is a good idea, and then the Royal Chariots hit them. And then that's pretty much the end. Necrosphinx using those gigantic blades to coat the ground in blood. Everyone's blinded, the Skullstorm is whipping through. It's a nightmare, a villain tit for the poor goats here. We'll have to slow things down, they're dying so fast. Just an avalanche of death. Very reminiscent of our engagement with the Wood Elves. We shall have plenty of steaks to sell to the Dawi later on. Yeah, no, it's just slaughter. There is no standing against the Great King. They've dropped down some crows to injure our lads a bit. They're going to get pecked. A bone is probably going to shatter the beak of your maleficious crows. That's not a word. We're coining it. Maleficious. I quite like these golden pauldrons and axes on these lads, though. And I won't lie, they didn't have them like this in the battle. So I'm not sure if there was just a strange... a rock getting launched. Thankful that whiff. That would have definitely taken out an entire crew, no problem. I don't know if there's just a color palette difference or a bit of a lighting bug. I have a lot of them when I'm playing through, so we fight with it. Settra's got some hate in his heart, and that cat is moving on over to bring down the Cygor, who just decided that battle is absolutely not the way. When Settra fixes the hate eyes on you, all you do is turn and run. He's going to continue to rip this poor Cygor down, but the victory is ours. What is there but death for the goatmen of the Slaughterhorn tribe? We only lost 2 of our soldiers in the battle. We only gained 4 canopic jars. We are very poor at packing them in. Fair enough. We gained a bit of gold, and we claim back poor Serpendar. Onward to our next battle, then. Dawn's Landing is once again secure, and Torhox needs to find himself a new home. We will throw in the Worship of Tra here, so we can get moving a little bit quicker. And then I will throw in the Tronal Plaza, so we can, again, get moving just a bit faster. We can throw in a Mastaba there, so the settlement gets moving. I think we want to upgrade Dawn's Light to maximum first, just so we can get the walls in there on that coastal settlement, since we will be dealing with Tzeentch for a while here. Kairos has teleported on across the ocean, because of course he has. Send us move back on over and reclaim Yuatek for ourselves. But now we get to a lesser siege because Lahmia is coming up. Let's grab a cough here. I was deciding between going after a Spite Peak and down here in Krad Tomen. This will allow us to cut off any reinforcements coming from over on this side. But honestly, that's not that big a deal. If we can keep Rupesh from being able to recruit more soldiers, he is one of Khalidah's stronger generals by far, so let's make sure we eliminate her ability to use his prowess. Come on over here to Spite Peak. We'll give this one again to auto-resolve since it is so weak. Claim Spite Peak for ourselves. Badlands falls under our control. We will go for the Worship to Tra till we hit rank 5 on the Crooked Fang Fort, and then we will switch it over to Fakth. Utmost cannot quite reach, but Rasut here will have herself a true test of her powers, a right and proper siege. We want to get on the wizard as fast as we can to eliminate any of those pesky Nehekara spells, but besides that, their most deadly unit is definitely going to be the Ushabti and the Screaming Skull catapults. Everything else here is just normal old infantry. Even the Tomb Guard we can get through with little to no problem. Let's take this fight to them. The High Queen of Lybaras has already been broken. She now resides high in the Misty Mountains with several of her generals. They bide their strength and prepare to face the wrath of our armies. However, in her absence, Queen Rasut's forces have reached the walls of Khalidah's beloved Lahmia. Asaph's Chosen will watch with grim understanding as her city-state rejoins Khemri. Let the assault begin. Bringing down the defenders of Lahmia shall not be an easy task. Queen Rasut should prove up to it, though. We will have all of the infantry, at least a small contingent of the heroes and the Khemrian War Sphinx and our beetles coming on this side here. We've got a whole heap of enemies to get through. All of the cats and Ushabti are on the other end here. We're going to spread them out across the walls to attack all of the gates kind of simultaneously there. Going to take a bit of damage from the arrows and from the fort towers. They're going to be doing a lot of damage if we're not careful, so we want to get into combat as quickly as we can. Get the battle going. They've got some artillery in the back and also some that were actually sitting a little bit too close to the gates, I think, but we shall soon see if they are enjoying what comes. Catapult shots fly over the top, barely missing our infantry line. Their wizards throwing down skull storms as well, trying to disrupt as much as possible. Taking a bit of damage from these skulls flying in on our Necropolis Knights. Just got to keep them mobile. We have a whole heap of cats charging in to rip down these gates. These aren't cats. These are the Ushabti. The cats are going the other way. They are going to be attacking these gates basically across the board there. I probably should have kept them all in one spot, but I figured we could threaten multiple places and see if they would try to respond in kind. We've kind of sent the Khemri beetles on a one-way mission to destroy these catapults at all costs. They have no goal other than to bring these catapults down and hopefully maybe escape in the process. Wrapup and the War Sphinx are in. We can just send the War Sphinx in to bully the 2 wizards that are wandering around there as he gets battered across the field. That bonus versus infantry is going to play an incredible part against all 3 of these units here. While our worst cat here rips through their artillery. Got some Wushabti of their own, however, but Wrapup and all of our armor-piercing 2 mummies should beat them down with excellent speed. We'll slow things down while Kreta defends his queen. We'll swing on back over. Gatehouse is nearly down. That many units all fighting together. It tends to actually disrupt the way of things. And I may have spoken a bit too soon. All of the cats are chewing on the same bit of gates here. They will get through it as quickly as they can. Acropolis Knights, we're just kind of wiggling around and trying not to get killed. I don't think any of the models, we did end up losing 2 models total, but that is honestly not too bad. They're all down off the walls now, trying to take different defensive positions because of the breach over here on the other end. I think that will probably spell their doom. In the background up there, the Khemri beetles are rampaging out, so I have no control of them anymore. Like I said, this was probably going to be a one-way mission for them. The ancient 2 mummies look absolutely incredible, though, with their blue flaming blades. When I am playing Tomb Kings, I am throwing out all of the low-cost buff spells that I can for all of the maximum heals. It just keeps all of your soldiers topped off while they're fighting. It allows you to live through things with very little casualties that would normally hurt quite a bit. Definitely need to bring the War Sphinx and Wrapup back over. We had them focusing down their lords. We did slay, at least got him down halfway. They keep running away though. Being wizards, they don't stick into the fight in Warhammer so well. Gates are nearly down on this one end here. The cats are already streaming through the city, each of them stopping in a different point to capture the point and take away some of the momentum from the enemy. And if they claim one back, not so much a big a deal. That enemy is now off target and not where they would normally want to be. Unfortunately, the Khemri beetles do end up falling. They didn't even finish their job of bringing down the artillery teams. Those chariots that we're escorting actually performed way better in combat than I expected them to. But the Khemri Guard and Ancient 2 Mummies are slowly making progress, grinding through the enemy infantry. Only 2 Wushabti stand, now down to 1. They're going to try to drop down some extra spells to keep them buffed up. Which one are they giving them here? Was it not going to tell me? Was it Neru's Protection? It is indeed Neru's Protection. Being a bit more physical resistance, not going to help at all against our Ancient 2 Mummies, which are all going to have magical attacks. Their lord is being ripped asunder. Send him back to the Band-Aid house. Cats are charging around to try to cause as much disruption on these archers as we can. I would prefer to take little to no archer damage. Their main lord falls. Tripped on a rock there, didn't even get hit. He should be ashamed. While Wrapup and everyone else kind of can move together and wound these chariots that slaughtered our poor beetles in cold blood. Those beetles did nothing to anyone. Claim 2 supply points now, and they're streaming through to capture the final one. Obviously, all of the enemy are going to be streaming as fast as they can over, and the cats are all going to charge in just to try to disrupt these Tomb Guard for a moment. Looks like we claimed the final victory point too, and the cats are going to charge in. These cats are not going to have a good time. We're going to want to get them out quick. They took enough damage already that a Tomb Swarm is coming on out. We're going to want to pull them away from the fight. I think, though, that it's probably going to be too late. They're going to crumble away to nothing. Tomb Guard are pretty sturdy, and they're not going to really struggle too much against the cats. We're going to want to pull them through pretty quickly. It was more or less just a delay tactic while we claim their victory point. Cats are having a great time. The Black Panthers. You Ushabti are absolutely obliterating the groups of archers that they have run into. Summon in the Ushabti. They like to summon in the Ushabti exactly in the wrong spot, usually fighting my Necropolis Knights, and then their health just goes away. They chose poorly. You have wasted so many good warrior souls here. Well, I popped him backwards. I was hoping he was going to drag the ground with the sides to slow him, but didn't actually. He just got knocked over and stood back up. Been kind of cool, though, having the anime slide. Maybe a bit too much, though. Back on the main front with Rasut and the heroes, the Khemrian War Sphinx is doing its best and destroying teams. Crushing Bone. Both Krata and the Queen have taken a bit of damage here, and these chariots are holding much more aggressively than I would have expected them to. Gotta respect him for it. The small group of defenders has been ever pushed back. They're just holding a small section of the map now, fighting to the very last man. Choosing honor rather than subjugation. Interesting. I would have preferred they just joined us. Boom, boom, they're going to explode the rest. Hopefully, if the Tomb Kings ever get revisited, they will, or at least in a patch, we can fix up their ability to be confederated with each other, unless CA has mentioned at one point why that's not a thing, and I have missed that post. Get them, cats. Most of the enemy just curl up in a ball and lay down, and the victory is ours. Lahmia falls. It took some sacrifice, but the court of Lybaras lies broken and their seat of power claimed. We lost our giant Kepra Swarm, which are pretty expendable flyers, and then we lost a group of the Bastethi, which once they get into a fight with something like the Tomb Guard, they just melt away. So get them stuck for any amount of time with infantry without being able to cycle charge them, and they're going to have a really bad day. We ended up only losing 85, though. We are not going to sack Lahmia. I want this settlement as pristine as it is, and we will claim as is, and then rebuild what is necessary. 8th Book of Nagash has been claimed, though. Nehekara rallied its forces in defense, and the war ground on for many years, seemingly deadlocked. After a titanic effort, however, Alcatazar finally smashed the undead forces. The vampires fled to the new refuges in the old world, while Nagash retreated once more in abject fury. This time, his wrath was absolute. He cast a foul contagion throughout Nehekara, scouring it of all life. Only Alcatazar did he spare to witness the horror. And now, we are where we are today. Thank you, Nagash. Well, with the 8th book claimed, we now have more effectiveness on all of our commandments, plus 50%. So I'll just kind of scroll through those slowly and let you take a look. Then we must occupy the following settlement. We have already done so. We have to figure out where Archon has hidden that last book there. He's not going to tell us, though. When you play as Archon, you start off with that book. You will continue saving these skill points here, and I believe Krata has himself some skills. We'll pass that out to the hard-to-hit ability. And then for Wakaf,
attend your king, slaves.
We shall... What's a tough call? I think we'll give him the additional health. We'll keep working down towards Desert Strike, and then we'll start working on his red line a bit more. Medum continues to save his skills. So we will swing on over to Nekaph. I think also doesn't really have anything going on. Yeah, he's pretty much all set. Let's give him Specialist and carry on. See how Lahmia is set up. They've already got the Osirium Pit. They've got the statues. Working up to the Serpent Guard. We might as well leave the Ushabti statues in. Is there anything special here at Lahmia? Just the gemstone mine. Very interesting. I'm surprised we don't have any landmark building up here at Lahmia. I believe Khalida has herself her own pyramid in lore, if I'm correct. And if I'm not, I think she's getting her own pyramid with the old world coming up, because there is an additional pyramid in Lahmia where there wasn't before. Or where there always was, and I just don't know. The Grand Ossuary, we probably don't actually need this. Since the settlement's only tier 3 at the moment, we'll take out the Grand Ossuary. Because if I claim Lybaras, Settra, and a Doomglade, I'm thinking all of these are most likely tier 3. We don't really have to worry about, they all have an additional bit of growth, and I can throw in the growth building there as well. We'll put in the gems here, and then leave everything else as is, because this is honestly not bad. Especially since we don't have any landmarks to worry about. Perfect. We will have to recruit up, let's recruit some more soldiers, though. You have the Tomb Guard Horseman, finally. Ooh, Nekaph. Happy day for you, sir. Or you, my dear. Who do we want? I mean, I'm very tempted to just grab some more Shabti with great bows. Those are just incredible units. He has plenty of Bastethti. I think we need something else to go with. And I think that something else is going to end up being Shabti with great bow. We'll grab 2 of those to finish off that army, give her a bit of ranged damage, to threaten the enemy from afar, and support those Tomb Guards. Our new dwarven subjects have put out a bounty. The stunted grumblers have an ancient grudge to settle. King Rupesh must die, and all they will divulge is the betrayal of the High King. This grudge must be settled, and they will gladly reward us for doing so. We will not be given orders, but as we already are in conflict with Rupesh's kingdom, we will happily crush his forces and be rewarded for doing so. Archon's march northward continues unabated. Scouts have confirmed the vampires of Sylvania have possession of the 7th Book of Nagash. This book belonged to Khemri, and every last servant of Nagash would burn for his sins against the people of Nehekara. Prince Wrapup II had finally recovered from his wounds inflicted in Lustria, and was quick to request his horse, so that he could journey back across the ocean and continue his mission. Kairos has found himself a juicy target, and actually I have fought this battle a couple times. Even though the battle result down here in the auto result says Pyrrhic victory, there is so much magic that these two can throw out together as a pair that there's just no way to keep up. You get obliterated. So I have no shame in coming and breaking immersion to admit that I have no capabilities of winning this one on the battlefield, so we are going to use auto-resolve to secure the win. We'll fade into a cutscene to make this one a little bit better, though. The Fate Weaver's inability to see the present has proved his undoing. The arrows of Khemri ripped apart the fluorescent horde of giggling horrors, leaving any survivors to be cut down by the warriors' blades. Victory came with a cost, however, as the warping flame of Tzeentch was the end for many brave warriors, and almost the entirety of the infantry was slain in the defense. Their names shall be inscribed on an obelisk nearby, in honor to their sacrifice bringing to heal the horrors that would invade our shores. Settra's royal army begins the march back south. After seeing the destructive capabilities of Chaos unchecked, the Great King would not allow this corruption to continue to fester in the southern wastes. It would be his own task to bring war to Tzeentch at their many dark strongholds, and raze them all to the ground. He would of course have none but the mightiest by his side while carving their way across warped landscape. Sehenisbeth's construct army would be tasked with first resettling and assisting the laborers in starting to rebuild Yuatek, where the Beastmen had previously rampaged. Once this was complete, his titanic army would ready itself for the invasion of the Wastes. Ever the shrewd politician, Settra has bartered with the Bretonnians of Lustria, and a deal has been struck. They will offer us crates of gold in return for our assistance in their war against the vampire pirate lord Luther Harkin. And now our forces move to crush the drowned invaders of our lands. Let the purge begin. They may have been gifted these lands by Kairos, but we will cut them down with fury nonetheless. They just have some deckhands, polearm, a mob in the way. That's the undead mob. I was trying to figure out exactly what that was. The eyesight's failing. They've just got some scurvy dogs in the way, as well as some bats and some mortars. I foresee this being an absolute smashing, but let's have a battle with someone besides one of our main characters for once. Let's reclaim the Sorcerer's Islands. There could have been mercy for these Vampirates if only they had just given the settlement back. Tzeentch may have provided it to them, but they could have just handed it back and be like, listen, this isn't ours, we don't belong here. And soon they shall find out. We are surrounding in a good bit here. We've got the Halberd, Tomb Guard moving just to claim the different points. Each of them has their own point they are going to move up and snag. There are just simply not enough scurvy dogs here to defend against all of our different elite units that can easily handle each and individual one of these pretty much solo here. We'll have the Tomb Swarm flying over the top to disrupt these handguns, and then our Screaming Skull Catapults also doing the thing. We'll have a Colossus moving up to disrupt this point, and then the bulk of our force will be moving right straight down the middle and just destroying everything they can. Let's let the battle begin. We will go ahead and keep the infantrymen back just a little bit so we can fire on them with the arrows, weaken these shotgun mob because they're pretty powerful. Tomb Scorpions starting on in. Flamethrowers as well making their presence felt. Good damage in. It's not as brain melting as what the Iron Breakers are capable of, but it is a absolute stream of death coming in. Cooking undead flesh, they have the bats moving in around to shut down that flamethrower stream, as they probably definitely should. Archers are picking off as many of the dogs as we can. They don't have much armor at all, so almost every single arrow is going to find its mark and it cause some wounds. This one's got a guy's got an arrow sticking out of his butt. All the way over on the other end here, we've got the Tomb Guard moving in. You probably can't even see them. Where'd you lads get off to? They've snuck in from the other side, and the others are moving straight down this lane. Just moving to claim those points. Mortars are roaring away, sending shots probably over at the Disciples of Tra. And the flesh-eating scarabs have descended. There is no Porta, only the Void. They're going to rip through that unit of archers. Well, not archers, but handguns as quickly as they can. Flesh-ripping scarabs are as deadly in the Mummy as they are in this. We do want to get these Disciples of Tra out of here, though. They are being surrounded by bats and dual blades. Taking a bit more damage than we would have want. Dogs just run for their lives, though, against our main line. They're already breaking against it. See the sheer amount of damage that these hand cannons can do, though. But we really don't need them firing in. I think they're mostly getting a bunch of friendly fire right now. The unit doesn't realize they have won, but now we can get to see the proper damage that the shotguns are able to do. Might have been overreacting. They're definitely doing a good job at disrupting, but our Tomb Guard are blocking those pellets with absolute ease. Well done, lads. The elite of Khemri always impress me. Our lord is being surrounded by bats, though, and that's how you get the unspecified virus of unknown origin, so you want to be careful with that one. Using that little bit smaller Kapesh to slice everyone he can. Gonna want to get out of that fight a little bit, though, as he is still a bit squishy, being a mage. Did send a group of the Tomb Swarm over to maul the mortars and fight with the fleet captain as much as we could. Does have the Invocation of the Heck down and the Dance Macabre, so all of the damage will be coming back on our poor Tomb Swarm. But we've claimed the points, and we get some fights between these poor polearm deck guard, and these aren't even deck guard, these are deckhands, and our Tomb Guard, which will vastly outclass them. I was using the Tomb Scorpion to try to bait the enemy into not being braced anymore and then charge them in once they weren't, just to limit the damage dealt to the Scorpion itself. Now blades out, let's see how well they fight. Zombie takes a strike to the forehead. That's exactly where you're supposed to catch blades. For limiting damage. Going in for another chop. And the zombie falls. I'm wanting one of these guys to cut them, grab the gun out of the air, shoot his friend, and toss it to the side, but my Tomb Guard aren't quite that well trained. Soon. Hierophant is cleaning up these deckhands in the main front there. Settra's Hawk Legion, or the Sphinx Legion of Numos, rather. Ripping through, they've got the capes. All you need is a cape to become instantly more aggressive. Get the +3 to wound. rolling around in the enemy. We're almost souls popping for our own soldiers, getting a coursing flow of healing. Mortar crews already are lying unattended. Enemy crumbles. Victory is ours. Sorcerer's Islands fall back under our control. And like that, our settlement is reclaimed. We only lost 137, took a bit of damage to our lord there, but no matter, the Sorcerer's Islands are back under our control. Unfortunate that we had to deal with that, but such is the way. They've already got the Bone Warfen and the Sepulchre, so that's actually not bad at all. Good choices all around. We will go for the Worship of Fox there, since we have the Tier 5 Necropolis, and we'll soon have the second population point. We need to turn this back into a mausoleum. Well done, Inithor. Gains himself a singular point there. Let's go for Evasion, so we can finish off his magic line there. He will probably be, him or Thutep will be the one that gets replaced as soon as we are able. The Warlord of Clan Moors has been spotted. Nekaph spurs his forces onward. If they can move fast enough, they can catch the vermin before they retreat back into their tunnels below. Nekaph also knows that they will force Queek to call for aid from the town if they catch him close enough. The defenders will be forced to abandon their superior positions and sally forth to the aid of their warlord. The disorganized and terrified Skaven would then be brutally slaughtered, as they have not the mobility or skill in battle of Nekaph's merciless horsemen. The chief warlord of Clan Moors has been brought to battle. He is fielding quite a few rats, and a lot of them are going to be elite. These avalanche mortars here will absolutely destroy anything they touch with their purple clouds of death. He's also got Ishka's triads to worry about, which are not actually all that great as long as we can keep them away from any of their allies. Got 2 teams of warp grinders, a couple other halberd teams. We will need to be using our mobility to its absolute maximum there to kind of isolate and destroy his weapon teams and get around behind him. Let's get to this battle. It's time to show these rats just how little numbers matter. We have Nekaph still on his War Sphinx. I am definitely going to be keeping him, and probably some of the others that would normally be maybe on another mount per the lore on their War Sphinx, or whatever their stronger mount option would be for the battle. Reason being, my playstyle is incredibly aggressive. Always has been. I throw my lords into pretty much the worst circumstances I possibly can on purpose and see if they can make it out. So we're going to keep Nekaph as strong as possible, especially since we've got absolute ton of rats to fight against. Lots of ROR units. The avalanche mortars are going to be a nasty menace to deal with, especially if we can't shut them down in a hurry. They've got 2 sets of mortar teams there to deal with, and that is going to be a nasty combo. Also some rattling guns and plenty of other weapon teams. As long as Nekaph's riders can move in quickly to disrupt and defeat, we should have no trouble. We will want to be very careful though. Fireball blasting on away, we're going to dodge that if we can. Swing into the trees there. Smashes into a tree ineffectively. Some avalanche mortar shells start flying on out. We are definitely going to want to avoid those at all costs. A couple of them are shot really ineffectively and don't even explode. Definitely one of my favorite all-time Skaven units. They're going to try to summon in some menace below underneath these horse archers, who are just going to gallop on away and cackle at them as they go. More avalanche shells are coming on down, and you can see the sheer amount of damage they can do on one volley if you're not paying attention. Yeah, the avalanche mortars are insane. Nekaph has dropped down all of his abilities. We've gone ahead and dropped as much of the enemy leadership as we can. We've got all sorts of missiles flying at us. Cavalry is rotating around the outside, trying to outmaneuver the Skaven and get them out of position. We've got a group of wolf rats chasing our cavalry, so I decided we need to pull them over here with Nekaph, let Nekaph chase these wolf rats off so we don't have to deal with them any further. They should route right off the side of the map if we're careful there, if we're lucky. Warp fire teams, avalanche mortars, all sorts of stuff in the back line we need to quickly either disrupt or rout off. All of the infantry is blobbed up together in the center, which is going to be perfect for any of our sandstorm spells. Flying rats do get an unfortunate charge into the back, but luckily they pull away before too much damage is dealt. Our cavalry is incredibly slippery with Nekaph. Hellfire's a bit deep. Learning what sepulchral stalkers are capable of, it's nightmaric. They are those who hate the large creatures. Our ghostly warriors are slicing their way through, plenty of clan rats as well. We're really just keeping our horse archers around the outsides of the enemies and being as annoying as possible. You turn your backs to us, we are going to stick an arrow in it. Speaking of, they've got those triangle shields up, but I would just be firing anywhere those little tiny shields weren't, bringing down a rat with each shot. Nekaph is rampaging through the center. There's really not much the rats can do to stop him. Each swipe of that gigantic paw is going to cleave several in half. He's got his bound sandstorms ripping through the lines as well. We'll take that back into normal stance. Let it do its thing. It's much better when they're clumped up, but I was using it to disrupt and allow our cavalry to keep moving around and shooting into the backs of their important targets. Ishka's Dryads are not braced, so this is going to be painful. No one likes getting charged by cavalry. We've got cavalry moving all over the place. Smashing into the back of this unit here that was just summoned. We're definitely going to have to jump back into slow-mo to keep up with everything that's going on. Storm Riders are also incredible. They had an absolute ton of reinforcements coming on in, and now they're all blobbed up, nice and ready for Nekaph to smash through with that Sphinx. Get rid of these warp grinders quick so they don't drop down to that earthquake. And we'll just keep running away from these clan rats. We're not here to take any amount of damage from you for free. Some of the summoned units have broken. Great swords are ripping through the warp grinders. They are no more. Kepler Guard also blending through these storm vermin as absolutely as fast as they can. They're racing the other units for kills. Plenty of point-blank shots into the back, and then they charge in to cripple what's left. So our halberd units, you definitely only want to be doing that when they are engaged with something else. But this is an excellent armor-piercing anvil, and then they get crushed by the hammer there. We definitely don't want these warp fire throwers for firing for very long. They start blasting at Nekaph, who is dueling with Queek. Queek is hanging in there just fine, blasting out the Verminous Valor. We're just going to move away from Queek. No reason to fight him, but we can obliterate the rest of his army and deal with him last. Tire him out while he runs around. Chieftain is doing work against our horsemen, though. He keeps poking them with that halberd. Each poke bringing a few down. Just an absolutely massive blob of Skaven on this right side here. We just need to keep drawing them away and smashing those that are overextended. We're going to take damage with each charge, but as long as we keep pulling away, we should have no trouble. Tier 2 Realm of Souls kicks off. Just Dryads are being rounded up. Our horsemen are just too much. Another sandstorm rips through the line there. The other group that was all the way over here was just a wee bit too far away, and it ended up doing far more damage to Osirian's Legion of the Netherworld than to the enemy, which was quite unfortunate. Using Nekaph as an anvil there, charging any cavalry can in. Even our horse archers in Nekaph's army are quite a bit more potent than normal. And units on the verge of breaking just charge on in with Nekaph or any of the other terror-causing units, and they will just leave. Keep that up a couple times, and the unit will break with no chance of coming back at all. Kepler Guard are looking a bit haggard, though, fighting against the top dog of Clan Moors. And we have not done a good job of shutting down this Plague Priest either, who has been running amok. Nekaph shall deal, though. Flattened. The army is all running. What now, Queek? Shooting right into the backs there. And go right through the armor like it is made of butter. Tier 3 of our Roma Souls has kicked off, though. We've taken a lot of casualties. We've killed a lot of rats. 3,400 of them are on the field. Queek is starting to break, though. Our Ushabti summons surrounding him and keeping him pinned in place. And his Warlord is going nowhere. Those blades ripping and tearing. The entire army is shattered. We kind of drew them down a ways. The only ones that are left are going to be the Council Guard here, which are going to be completely unbreakable. They're very tired. They're unbreakable. We'll catch them in a bit of a standoff. We have units coming on around to reinforce as well. So once they charge, we're going to let them think that they can reach. Please pull away. Turns out, no, we let them reach us. I was almost certain I let them think they were going to get to us. Either way, we're definitely going to want to get our Storm Riders out of there because armor-piercing halberds do incredible work against horsemen. Although we ride away from that and several of the Storm Vermin lie dead. They're going to ride on around. Queek is broken. All that remains is finishing him off and hunting down the rest of these rats here. Packing as many into jars as we can, although we know it's going to be very few because our Lich Priests are holding out on us. The Anvil's charging on in. Storm Vermin are really not sure what to do. They form up, but alas, that's a whole lot of damage. I mean, these are the nastiest of the Storm Vermin. But, turns out they bleed all the same. I do like the contrast, though, of the white fur and their Clan Moor's rusty color armor. But in quick manner, we should slaughter the rest of these poor clan rats. They are not Storm Vermin anymore. They're all dead. We'll catch you all back on the map. A brutal and bloody battle, but we managed to pull out a victory. Hundreds of kills going to pretty much each unit there. We did lose one of our spear cavalry, but we will be quickly replacing them with our new and upgraded Tomb Guard on horses. We only packed 18 rats into jars. Fair enough, it is a whole bunch of just rats. Let's go ahead and bind some souls so we can replenish up, since Rupesh is to the north directly there. But honestly, we can probably move and claim something a bit further now. A whole bunch of enemies were killed. We gain a bonus versus infantry on Nekaph, which is going to be amazing. His Vermin Fill. See how he runs all the way from the sewer, or to the sewer from which he first skulked. Nekaph shall now be attack-minded 1 tier from the highest. Can't actually make it to the sump pit or escape, so we are going to probably get attacked by Rupesh as well as these others here, so we want to be ready for that one. Nekaph, can Ancient Tyrant give you some more? Now that just drops control and gives you more income. This would give us more hit points and get rid of, I believe, that innate fire weakness. Yeah, it just deletes the fire weakness. Or we could go for Desert Strike, making him a bit stronger. I think Desert Strike is the way to go. Skill points on Rasut and Amenemhotep are going to stay for now. Perfect. Swing on into our dynastic research for the final bit here. We're going to go for the Wisdom of the 5th after we claim the Heralds Empowered. It'll actually take less turns overall to grab these final ones here and to get over here, as opposed to the 7 turns needed for the 5th dynasty. So our next Herald is not going to be of Zandri because Vanguard deployment for Chariots is really not necessary. I'll go for the Herald of the Scorpion and then we'll finish it off with Zandri. We have plenty of jars with which to get this taken care of. It would appear cowardice and weakness are common traits of our enemies. The survivors of Warlord Queek's band of vermin attempt to slink away in their tunnels beneath us. The thunder of hooves and roar of sand drowned out the screams of the Skaven as they were brutally cut down. their meager souls offered up to Joff as tribute. Same could be said for a lone Hierophant. He was hoping to move unnoticed across his lost territory, and join up with a king in the south who was raising an army to attempt to slow Rasut's advance. Alas, his fate was to be torn apart by Bastethi, and tossed aside in the dunes. There's no rest for Nekaph or his beleaguered desert riders. We need to hunt down King Rapesh of the court of Lybaras before he is able to reinforce any of his troops. We will then, after this victory, swing back down and claim the Skaven settlement to our south, securing this province and starting the replenishment train for Nekaph here, who desperately needs it. Let's get right to this battle. The auto-resolve would kill a couple of our forces, so obviously we are going to take this one directly to him. King Rapesh is no joke, though. He has a bonus versus infantry and large, and a 588 weapon strength. I believe he's actually a dwarf, too. He's a dwarf tomb king. I don't know the lore about him, but once we claim Lybaras, I believe he shall be under our banner as well. So we shall have Rapesh and Khalida both. So let's get to this. The deadliest unit, obviously, is him on top of his War Sphinx, and then the Screaming Skull catapults. As long as we can eliminate that before the real damage is done, I think we should have no problem. Let's get to the fight. Both of our forces weakened, but we have cornered Rapesh, and it is time to finish him off once and for all. He does have at least the defenses of the Screaming Skull catapults, and he is on the War Sphinx himself, so going to be a nasty combatant. Get the battle going. We had our horse archers up on all sides just to harass and cause problems. I have 3 to his 1, so if he even sends them out a little bit, we will start annihilating. Skull flies on in, smashing into the first group of our horse archers. They're going to want to try to get away from that, not take too much damage. I have Nekaph beelining for his horse archers as well. Eliminate Rupesh's ability to fire on us and move away. And we can lock him down pretty easily in our remaining infantry once they do finally arrive. 100% chance for tornadoes as a Skull Storm whips on up. Got my Sepulchral Stalkers just waiting for when he tried to descend his chariots in, and they are ripped apart. There's a ton of damage. They've got very low armor, these chariots, at least the first tiers of them. Decide they aren't going to be able to get much shooting in, so just charge on in. Stab them with those really long pokey sticks of justice. Giving Lybaras the freedom poke. They're still going to keep launching the shells into our archers, though. That only lost a single model. They're incredibly tanky under Nekaph. His carrion keep flying around, although wherever they land is just going to be their grave. Hit the ground, they start fighting, and whoever they fight is going to hit them back. Nekaph's Battle Kitty is having a great time. We're just keeping him away from Rapesh, because at this point Rapesh has bonus versus infantry and large. Actually, I think has more stats overall than I am very much lying. I'll back it on off, though. I was playing like Rapesh was going to beat Nekaph in a battle, as you can see. Just being very cautious with him. As honestly, all we had to do is kind of keep away from Rapesh, keep charging him over and over and over again, blasting away at him with arrows, and eventually we will get through that thick hide of his War Sphinx. Although he is going to crush many of our horse archers underfoot there. If I had to play this battle again, we would have definitely used Nekaph in a bit more of an aggressive state against Rapesh. But we can use those Sepulchral Stalkers and their ammunition to rip through that armor. As we continue to harass him with all of our different horsemen groups. English. Get in there, Nekaph. Duel of the century. Plus you have all of the backup. Ash has those lovely little purple accents on his back, though. Having a hard time. And we need to fix his little casket thing up to better fit a Dawi. Battering away with those War Sphinxes. An ultimate battle of the constructs. We're going to drop down another of the Tomb Swarm just to get through his armor a little bit quicker. All of the chip damage we can manage on Rapesh here, who is starting to break. I think he is completely unbreakable, though, so I'm not sure why it was giving us the... No, he isn't. I'm not sure what's going on there. Bit of a visual bug. Keep battering away at his War Sphinx. Obviously, all of the undead are unbreakable. They just start disintegrating. And another headbutt, finishing off the most surprised War Sphinx of all time. We got out of that with pretty low casualties, all things considered. Well done. And King Rupesh once again falls in battle. We nearly lost a couple of our units there, but everyone does manage to survive. We lost 130 there, 388. Rupesh actually manages to survive somehow, but I think since we have chased him down once, that should finish him off. Let's go ahead and grab the Binding of Souls. Make sure we're a bit more capable for dealing with the Sump Pit. Another Charnel Valley Necrotect, and we finished an allied mission. Beautiful. Let's see if they have any more missions for us to claim. Not for a bit there. We have the Tier 2 district going on in. Swing on back down to where we'd like to be. And then have King Nekaph come claim the Sump Pit. Let's go ahead and occupy then. No defenders.
King of Nehekara.
Works for me. We should go ahead and grab Fort Nekaph then. Have these Sun-Scorched Bones, allowing our normal warriors to be a bit stronger. I do think we want to ultimately end up with either Sepulchral Stalkers. This is actually probably what we want here, because it's the Stone Sentinels, giving it to the Stalkers, the Scorpion, and Necrosphinx. Only things I want in the army to end things up. I'm going to get rid of all of these Tomb Guard eventually. And the only thing we're going to have is Stalkers. Probably get rid of these Skull Catapults, even. We'll have Stalkers and then Tomb Scorpions to roll around with Nekaph. Yep. And the global is opened on back up, so let's come on back in. Upgrade our Stone Sentinels, giving charge bonus to our Sepulchral Stalkers, which is a bit of an interesting thing to give them. Nebathar gained some skills. Pass that over to his specialist then. Anyone else need some upgrades? Arandes does. You, sir, we're going to give the Assault Garrison trait. Then over here to Prince Kot, who is out and exploring as well. Go ahead and give him Specialist in case we want to do any kind of actions. Skills passed out. Settra's forces were long overdue an upgrade to their equipment. His archers and charioteers had served him well up to this point. However, his invasion of the Daemon Waste was going to require his forces to be better equipped to weather the hailstorms of warp flame surely to come. He declared his current archer retinue would be promoted to the Royal Guard, and given new equipment and stronger incantations and enchantments placed upon them. All chariots that weren't designated as mobile archers would also be replaced with the heavier and more deadly Royal Chariots. Zehenismet was given his first target for invasion. His vessels are launched from the Fortress of Dawn, and they sail towards the heavily fortified citadel of Demon's Gate. The Vizier was unsure of what was to come, but was secretly giddy to see the wrath of a Khemric Titan again. It had been since times long forgotten that he had seen their majestic, overwhelming power brought to bear on an enemy. All heralds have now been returned, and the Lich Priests work to further boost their power. This would allow Khemri to field even more vast armies, and even more rapidly than before. Woe be to whoever stands in the way of Settra's majestic will. Queen Rasut has brought Khemri victory after victory, claiming back most of Lahmia in a very short time, and destroying several upstart kings along the way. The Blessed of Bast now stand ready to assault the walls of Lybaras, and deliver another crippling blow to the High Queen's resistance. Only the worthy may serve Settra. Let it begin. And so it comes time to bring the High Queens home to heal. King Aoshir's here, I guess is how you're going to pronounce that, is standing in our way with his derpy-looking snake hat. He shall find his forces extremely wanting. Pyrrhic victory would kill all three of our big cats, which is incredibly disrespectful. Let's bring down Lybaras. Time to cut the head off the snake. We take the fight to Lybaras. The battle plan is as follows. I have everyone just kind of clumped up on one side, and I can spread them out however I want. This convinces the AI that the best thing to do is to get clumped up themselves and allow my magic and all of my extra bashy boys to do more damage than they normally would. Let's get this thing going. We've got the archers moving forward. I figured they could actually fire on this piercing tower, and it turns out I was wrong, and I didn't notice it until they got a little bit closer. Rasut's just going to charge right on in, deal as much damage to these chariots as she can, and I'm going to send the cats around. An archer arrow storm is going to fly into the Kepler guard. They've got no choice but to endure it. Keep moving. Once they do get in and they can shut down these first group of archers, I will have the cats moving on in and blasting through to hit into this back line here. Pendulum cuts through that line of archers. We have a lot of work to be done, though. They have a ton of missiles to deal with. And they're using their chariots as a stop block. It will only be but a momentary one. Our own Tomb Swarm coming down here to rip through these infantry lines. They used one on our own as well. So infantry trades across the board here as the Greater Bastethity charge into battle. 3 of the enemy clumped together here. I do wish we had another Penumbral Pendulum or had waited on the Tomb Swarm there. Make it even a better target. These spearmen should prove absolutely no threat. Ancient Tomb Mummies cutting through these Nehekara warriors. They hear you, just stronger. Got the cats moving all the way around the outside to claim the different points on both sides there. All of their heroes and lords are hiding in that center position as they normally do put them there. Leading from the front is what Rasut is about. And Necro Serpents and all of the other different constructs moving together there. These archers are really not much of a threat. We just kind of run them over. They'll start crumbling away very soon just because of the amount of damage they're taking. Both groups there, we can claim that point and keep the fight going. Rasut's force now has another group to deal with. They have some Nehekara warriors that have moved in one at a time Midas style. Ready to die. Ancient Tomb Mummies and Greater Bastethity are a bit overwhelmed here, but they're still fighting as hard as they can. Surrounded by a pile of corpses. Same thing here. We've got 2 Bastethity working. They've got some Realm of Souls popping for the enemy there. Gotta keep killing even faster. Your heals matter not if you're laying on the ground. All of the heroes are starting to panic, it looks like, when they just start kind of wiggling around. They're not really sure what to do. Our cats are surrounding the mage. I figure they could get some bit of damage in on him while they were able, while the others kind of charge around and disrupt things. Several corps of archers. Rata is slicing through, just keeping them from firing on any of our groups. They have another Scarab Swarm of their own coming down, doing some good damage. We hate to see it. Let the enemy warriors crumble away. Once those last few Nehekara warriors go down, it's only the heroes, and Rasut and Krata should have no trouble beating them down. In fact, the king has charged on into combat, only to get surrounded by all of our Ushabti. And they're gonna get to work dethroning a king. We've got the Ancient Tomb Mummies charging in as well as the Bow Ushabti move in on the other side. Lybaras shall not rise again. We are here to make sure of it. Cat's taking a bit of damage, so we're going to leave the Tomb Swarm in to disrupt while the cats get on away. Recover their leadership a bit so they don't crumble. Tomb Swarm is pretty much going to just get surrounded and crushed. Due to how small they are, once they get surrounded pretty easily, almost the same as the large units. So it is unfortunate. Just as unfortunate as this poor Nehekara mage getting trapped and surrounded by Necro Serpents. He got hit so hard he wanted to have blood there for a second. Smack the blood back into his body. This poor king has dropped down his curse just to try to weaken our enemies, or our soldiers, a bit more there. It's gonna be for nothing, as he is torn from his horse. Wounded, they say. I guess he'll be back then. if we don't crush Lybaras before. I actually really like the capes on their captains in comparison to our own. Lybaras is an excellent color scheme. Oh no, the small battle cats have arrived. The baby piranha will definitely destroy what's left, just that surround and breaking the leadership even further. Our shop here a bit overextended, but they will be bullying this poor Necrotect, who is more of an anti-infantry soldier. And their leadership breaks. Disintegration begins. You know you want to join Khemri. Just give in. Such is the way. A king in name only, and he is soundly defeated. We only lost 66 in the battle. Most of those going to the Ancient Two Mummies and Kepler Guard as they charged on in. Then we lost a couple of the cats in a battle with the prince there. We will take that victory happily, though. And then we'll go ahead and just occupy the towns. Tier 3. Mission successful as well. 2 birds, 1 stone. Rasut is up to tier 14 with her Khemrian War Sphinx, so she is going to be now a absolute force of nature. And we have access to her better abilities as well, so we can get Remembered Grace, dropping Vigor Loss, and Melee Defense for the cat units. Mother of Kings, giving her Perfect Vigor and dropping Vigor Loss for those cats again. Same thing for this one, but giving them more attack. And then the Golden Crusted giving them more weapon strength, and also dropping more of the Vigor Loss. So we will go for Mother of Kings, Golden Crusted, Felines, which is a bit horrifying, and then probably Primal Reawakening to go for the Pounce from the Shadows, giving stock for the whole army. Yeah, that's gonna be fantastic. All right, Primal Reawakening, and then we'll grab Pounce for the Shadows there. Take a quick look at what these units are turning into now. We've got 311 armor-piercing weapon strength on the War Beast there, Mochi, Maka, and Bastet. And then the Bastet, they are looking at 51 melee attack, so they are closing in on more like the War Beasts of Khorne, just with a bit better abilities being, I think these ones have the Eternals. Are they all Eternals? Oh, they all have the Eternals buff naturally. So as long as they have higher than 25% hit points and tier 3 of Heroes or Realm of Souls is reached, they will not die. Pretty solid. We may need to get some more chaff units in then to do some dying. So instead of these Ancient Two Mummies, although I like them quite a bit, we may want to replace with some normal units like Tomb Guard. That way more units are dying, that way we get up to tier 3 a bit faster. For Krata here. I think I'm going to continue down the Canopic Jar Hoarder path. We have plenty of melee stats for now. We can start working on the others in a moment. But for now, he's doing fine. I hope you all enjoyed part 15 of my Settra narrative campaign. If you have any tips, tactics, or unit name suggestions, take to the comments and let's start a discussion. Remember to leave a like for the Light God and a sub for the Sub Phone, and I will see you all in the next one.